On our agenda is the sixth grade award presentation.
Great. I have 4 awards to deliver today, and I'm very happy to do so. So each year, our sixth graders receive various awards, and we started celebrating that at board meetings. So we're happy you could make it. I'm going to tell you a little bit about each award, and then yes.
Do you think you could stand like here?
I can stand anywhere you would like me to. Over here?
Yes, that'll be better
Okay.
for doing public.
Great. So I'll tell you the name of the award, what it's for, who chooses the award winner, and what the recipient will receive, and then last but not least, who the recipient is. So the first award is the Gene S. Keeler Memorial Award. This award was established in 1991 and is named for a former teacher at Hotel School. This award recognizes the child who shows sensitivity and compassion toward her fellow students, exhibits a caring and sharing attitude, along with respect for each person's differences. This award is chosen annually by the staff. The recipient will receive $25 provided by Gene Keeler's daughter, Ann O'Brien, and family. And this year, the award goes to Robertson Bazzano.
Wait, let me get a picture.
Okay.
He told you to speak to you. I enjoyed speaking.
Okay, here. We're gonna do a little photo op here, so I want you to hold it just like that. Okay, and smile.
Excellent.
Okay. The next award is called the Adele Wynn Service Award. This award is named for a former teacher at Hotel School and is given to the student who, in the opinion of the staff, goes the extra mile. It is voted on, again, by the Hotel School staff. The recipient receives $25 provided by the Adele Wynn Endowment Fund. And this year, the award goes to Kaylin Haggerty.
Hold on.
All right, 2 more. The next is the Susan A. Brousseau Memorial Award. This award is given in memory of Susan A. Brousseau, a beloved aunt of Hotel students who volunteered at Hotel for many years as a basketball and softball coach. Given annually to the student who shows good sportsmanship and exemplary character and leadership in athletics. This award is chosen by our PE teacher, Mr. Warren Canellis. This year, the student will receive $50 provided by the Susan A. Brousseau Memorial Fund. And this year, the award goes to Robertson Bazzano. And lastly is the Frank C. Riley Award. This award is given in memory of Frank C. Riley, who was a member of the Norfolk Langen family. The recipient of this award has done outstanding work in creative writing and is chosen by the classroom teacher, Mrs. Ward, and the literacy specialist, Mrs. Potbecker. The Munch family annually sponsors $25 for this student, and this year the award goes to Kaylin Haggerty. you very much for coming. It's nice to see you outside the hours of 8:15 to 3:30.
Congratulations, well deserved. You're welcome to stay for the meeting. You're also welcome to leave. Great, thank you.
All right. Good night.
Congratulations, guys. Okay, next on our agenda is public comment. We have some members of the public. Would anyone like to make a comment? That would be you, honey.
Hi, Miss Cristeva. My children go to school here. I'm not new to the community, but a little new. I've been here 4 years.
We're glad to have you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the meeting. Would you like to make a public statement? We ask that all statements be kept to 5 minutes or less, and that I have a little statement I used to read, and now I've forgotten. I don't have it with me anymore. But it's basically. Oh, that's right. It's board policy that we don't respond directly to public comments, but we absolutely hear everything you say, and that we will get back to you when appropriate.
I have, I guess some questions and concerns, but this is my first board meeting. I think I just like to listen to this meeting to see like what's going on and what you guys do,
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, Michael Story, I have a daughter that goes here. I would like to see the merger of Norfolk and Fulton School brought back to the board. I think it's time. When everything was done years ago, they talked about the numbers getting small, and they're small. It's something that needs to happen. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And willing to help with whatever needs to be done with that. I'm willing to help. So.
Thank you. Would you guys like to say? Do you have anything in? You're presenting later.
There are.
I'm so flustered. There's so many people at the meeting. Okay, moving on in our agenda. Thank you very much for your comments. Spotlight on mental health and social emotional learning.
And that is where these two lovely ladies come in. This is Miss Ashley Bono. She's our school psychologist. And this is Miss Melissa Dupsis. She's our school social worker. And they have delightfully agreed to share a little bit with you about the PASS assessment that we talked about at the last board meeting and some other things that they are working on.
So I will give a little bit of information about the PASS. I don't know how much you have already heard about it, but it's basically social emotional screener for the entire school takes it. There's 2 different tests based on like grade level. So K through 2 takes the test that's like age appropriate for them, and then 3 through 5 takes another test that's appropriate for them, and then 6 is also separate. So there's different factors that it measures, and the K through 2 doesn't measure as many factors because it's just not age appropriate to do so. But some of the factors include there's feelings about school, perceived learning capability, self-regard or their self-concept, preparedness for learning, attitudes to teachers, general work ethic, confidence in learning, attitudes to attendance, and response to curriculum demands. So it's just a set of questions that they answer. I think it takes them like 15 minutes to 20 minutes to answer all the questions. And it's basically on a scale of how much they agree with the statement being said. And their answers kind of result in different percentiles for each factor. So the percentiles are kind of based on like standardized norms. So, schools across the nation. And the 31st to 100th percentile means a high satisfaction with their school experience. The 21st to the 30th percentile is moderate satisfaction. The 6th to 20th percentile is low moderate satisfaction, and the lowest 5% is low satisfaction. So basically what we do with that information is if we see, you know, specific groups or students that fall within, you know, lower percentiles, we can kind of provide intervention. For example, Melissa and I are running a social skills group based on some of the data that we receive from students. Anything I'm missing?
You're doing a great job. Ashley's really great with the numbers. I'm more of the emotional person as a social worker, but yeah, we've actually taken the data. It's been really nice to kind of lay out, and it also for us kind of comes in this color coded way where we see a green, yellow, orange, red, and we're able again just to kind of look at it and look at the big picture. And it also helped us pick up some data on kids that kind of, you think the kids that they're you know, they're doing very well academically, they're kind of always no issues, never coming down to our office, but when they answer the question, there's a lot of internalized emotions or challenges they're having with anxiety or anywhere in that social emotional area. So it's really been also able for us to kind of take a look at some students who are kind of like, okay, you know, no stigma towards it, or we don't want to like, you know, flag them as it's a bad thing, but just for us to kind of have extra set of eyes, provide some even informal check-ins or run extra lunch bunch groups where we kind of collectively get a bunch of students together and do our, you know, they don't think it's, I don't want to say it's therapy. They don't think it's therapy. We kind of make it fun, a lot of games, just the natural socialization and kind of building that self-esteem. We've also incorporated a lot of our ruler lessons. That's where our SEL lessons are based off of. We've taken some of the themes from the information we've got from this data, and we'll run class-wide lessons on it. Self-esteem, sometimes added towards school, just anything that we've seen that maybe needs a little bit more focus from the social emotional lens. We've taken a deeper dive and have been trying to provide, and trying to be as proactive as possible too, but just trying to take that approach with this information we received.
Can you describe the timeline of the testing? Like, so when was the test given? Is it given, you check in again, or how is it?
So we give it in the fall and also in the spring. We did our first round of it, and we're going to do our second round late May, early June, to see, you know, have there, you know, with the interventions we've kind of been providing, have there been any changes? You know, with our SEL lessons, have we seen changes as a result of that? So it's helpful data for us to see where the kids are social.
Forgive me if I missed it, I was trying to speak out a minute ago. Excuse me. Is there a percentage of students that see you or both, like you have like a percentage of students that have sort of mental health or social emotional needs?
Like specifically that came from like the data or yeah.
Just like in general, like on like, I don't know if you've kept this data like throughout the school year.
Yeah, I mean, both ways, you know, we do have a percentage. I don't have the percentage off the top of my head. Kids that, you know, require social emotional intervention. And from, you know, we have a specific number of students that kind of we're providing intervention and doing extra check-ins with as a result of the data that we got from the screen.
So there's,
Well,
Yeah.
I guess the basis of my question is that I know the trend nationally is up across all age groups.
Right.
And it's always a question of like, do people have more language so they're able to express their needs? Or is like the state of the world and the state of people really that much worse that people's mental health and needs are suffering? So I was just wondering if that like sort of trend is repeated here or not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we would have to kind of data from, you know, before and then after. Compare that if that
Sure,
makes
yeah.
sense, yeah.
And there's some kids, you know, with disabilities, you know, that on their IEP or 504 plan, as part of that plan, they have social skills or counseling or, you know, whatever the need is, if they have, you know, some executive functioning challenges. And so different layers of that can also be included in those individualized plans per their disability. But I think that's an interesting, we can certainly get that information for you. Which of the kids are we seeing kind of in an informal way? Which of the kids is it more formalized, and what is the overall percentage?
And I'm not sure if your question was kind of getting at this, but depending on the level of intervention, if it's an IEP or if it's a formal sessions or support, there would be parent notification and parent involvement. My understanding of the children who are seen informally through these interventions, that's not necessarily something that parents would be notified or have parent permission to be included in the group.
Yes, like it's usually informally, and again, we kind of base it off our tiers as well, but like our informal stuff is just kind of sometimes in the moment, right? Sometimes we see a situation, how can we help a kid in the moment? How can we help a child process? How can we help, you know, mediate between a certain situation too? I think in the last couple of years, what we've seen on the side, on the social emotional side is a lot of the basic social skills. You know, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but from the pandemic, there has been a lot of trends where, you know, kids in this age group, during that time missed on really important years of being in person, the social piece, you know, our children who were being taught with masks. I mean, it definitely has impacted several areas of the social emotional, realm. And again, our supports, when we say formally, informally, it's just catching and being proactive and in the moment and what we can do, you know, push into classrooms. Sometimes, you know, we're there just to kind of sit back and see if there's any extra support we can provide. But yeah, usually informally, and sometimes even informal, if we feel like we need to increase it, we always constantly try to have as much parent communication. You know, Ashley and I collaborate constantly as a team. If there's a student she sees that maybe, you know, I can take on a little more, we definitely communicate. I always put her on an email to the parent, vice versa, sometimes just to make sure that parents are aware that we are a team. We work, it's a small community. We want to be in the loop with each other's students because it is important. We are constantly, you know, crossing over those boundaries. So.
Great, thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Next on our agenda is approval of the
Yep,
minutes.
you two are also free to leave. You're welcome to stay, but you.
Next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of the special meeting of April 9th. Everyone get a copy of that in their package.
I move that we approve them.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Ginger?
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Okay. All right, then motion carries. I received no correspondence, so we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, so I've got some updates for you. I talked to Matt again last week about the boiler, and he indicated that now that the budget season is wrapping up, he would be able to give that more of his attention. I reiterated that it's really critical that a decision is made as to, you know, who he's going to work with to replace the boiler, because it's going to take time for the parts to be ordered and to be put on a schedule. And we want this work, we need this work to be done over the summer. We cannot tempt the fates with another season with the boiler system we have, and we don't want the work to be going on while kids are in school. So I will continue to check in with him and see where we are in terms of that timeline. I did also ask him about the slide, and while it should be under warranty, I'm not sure how long that warranty window lasts. And it doesn't appear to be a high priority for the selectmen. He indicated that he really, it was not a priority, but there were a lot of things going on. And so the strategy that I've discussed with Ann and with Richard is that we are going to try to get Janet Byrne to take that on and be the aggressor and fight that fight, because it's an institution in Norfolk. It's something that has been beloved by our school, by our community. And it would be a shame for the investment we've made to not take advantage of the,
Yeah, and so Mary Beth, if I understand correctly, if you're given the name, you'd be willing to follow up.
I would be willing to
coordinate
call,
efforts,
but
right?
I don't have a contact, and, I can certainly request that in writing and,
It's creative.
You've got that? okay, so we will call and let, I'm not sure if they've even been contacted so that they know that this slide has fallen apart, but. we
Yeah,
will-
Mary Beth, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I spoke to Matt like 2 weeks ago when he was paving my road and he has been in touch with them.
Good.
Since, and I sent him pictures of when they were installing it to show that they didn't put proper footers down. They just sort of put some bags of cement without actually putting like digging down enough. And even the auger they were using was like not even 3 feet. So although they may say it's for, children ages 5 through 12, on one sticker, so I gave him a bunch of information that he could
Great.
follow up with them.
Great.
Just so you know.
Thank you.
You're
The
welcome.
more people on this, the better. But we will call and make, I don't think it would hurt for us to make a follow-up call to just check in and see, if we can be kept in the loop in terms of the timeline and, what we can expect.
Yeah, well, you're the people on the ground here, so
Yeah.
they should coordinate with you and
Yeah.
any support that you need that way.
All right.
A huge investment, you can't just let the town's investment go.
Let's see, so, because of a few different personnel issues, with our night custodians, we did have to terminate our night custodian. So we are in the process of looking for a 6-hour, a night shift night custodian. We've been advertising, we have had some interest. We've yet to have a candidate that was someone that we could offer the job to, but we are in the process of that and hoping to get somebody on soon and certainly to acclimate them and get them on board before the summer. We're looking at the budget and making sure that, we're doing everything we need to do to be set to close things out for June. We, as anticipated all year long, will be over in our special ed budget. We continue to do what we can to mitigate that. At this point, the town, we're being told that the town will receive about $46,000 in excess costs to mitigate that unexpected cost. And we have applied for grant money that would also help to offset that unexpected expense. Everything else looks like it's good. We've, certainly at the next meeting, we'll let the board know where we need to shift things within areas to balance out some of the overages and underages in the budget that happens every year, and we'll go over that in June.
Can you remind me why the substitutes and regular teachers is so far over budget?
We've had just a year with teachers who have had some really tough years in terms of physical issues, family issues. The last contract allows our teachers to use up to 5 or 15 of their sick days. Kathy, do you remember?
This year it's next year starting July 1st. They can use their family.
Their family on the same, so there've been family issues, and you may be able to speak a little bit more to that.
We've also had, this year we've been implementing the new literacy curriculum. And so with that comes 10 days, we plan for 10 days of professional learning to go along with that. So those aren't full days where teachers are out of the classroom, but we do have to hire a substitute that floats from classroom to classroom to cover those sessions where the teachers meet with the representative coach from the literacy curriculum to deliver that professional learning. In addition, the state offered a science of reading professional learning opportunity that we were able to slip into at the last minute and didn't anticipate, we didn't plan for that in the budget. So that is about 6 sessions. One teacher has been released a full day, and then again, 2 teachers released for half day sessions. So those added up, more than we anticipated. But isn't a typical, that's not a typically reflected in the budget.
Thank you.
So we don't anticipate it being so high next year.
No, as a matter of fact, for many, many years, we had a placeholder of $6,000 for substitutes. We never used that much. So a few years ago, we reduced it to 3,000. And then, of course, as luck would have it, this would be a year where we could use that 6,000 in the budget. But it's atypical, and we don't expect that. In terms of even the professional development, it's been front loaded, and we are not expecting to have that degree of need next year.
Nope.
And we also have the benefit of building that into our PD calendar and taking advantage of more of the half days and the building professional development days. When this program was adopted, it was, we didn't anticipate that and didn't have the opportunity to really get that into our PD calendar. But so next year, there should be less teacher pullout in order to provide the professional development.
Thank you.
Oh, you are welcome. And then the other thing I just want to make you aware of, I had received an email from Mike Sconiers with a lot of question marks and explanation marks because there had been an inquiry from a resident about the fact that we have teachers here whose children come to school here even though they don't live in Norfolk. And board created policy for this a while back, and for a lot of reasons, one of which it enables us to hire teachers who otherwise wouldn't be able to come here because they travel. And if they had to be home late enough to put their kid on the bus and pick them up and whatnot, they wouldn't have the time to get to here and to get home. And so it helps us to recruit higher quality teachers. It's also, I think, it speaks a lot to Botel when we have teachers who are here and say, this is a great school. I want my kid to come here. And in terms of marketing, if, teachers want their own kid, if this is a school where teachers would want their own children to go to school, it, I think, speaks highly to the quality of education that we provide. But we, in discussion with the board, decided that the tuition for teachers, students would be the same that we charge Colebrook residents to send children to preschool. So Mike's question was, so I explained that to Mike that, the board put this into policy as a benefit to teachers. And he questioned whether or not the board had the authority to do that. Well, of course, the board does have the authority to do that. And I have that from our attorney, and the attorney at the time had said you can absolutely do it in policy. Some districts do it just in policy. Some districts do it as contractual language as a benefit to teachers. So moving forward, it might be something that teachers want to incorporate into contract negotiation language. But right now, if it comes to your attention, it's absolutely a legal move on the part of the board to put a policy like this in place. And it is not atypical. There are many districts that provide that kind of.
How many students are we talking about?
4.
So 4 of our 56 students don't live in town.
That's correct.
And what's the difference in tuition for Colebrook versus any other town that want to send a kid here?
That's the only amount that we've had was with Colebrook. And the money that we collect for tuition goes directly to the town. And it does not cost us any additional money to have these 4 students here. It's not like we had to hire another teacher. It's not like, and when the teachers apply to have their children come here, it's a yearly approved arrangement, and they are responsible for transportation. They are responsible for any any additional costs. So if the child had special ed needs or any other related costs, the parent is required to pay for that. So we base acceptance on the number of students, and clearly we have enough room. It's to our advantage to have more kids in our classrooms. You know, we hear all the time socially, it's better for kids to be in classes with larger class sizes. So those kids are providing value in that way. They're not costing us any additional money, and they're not draining our resources. In fact, the 4 students that we have here are just delightful, bright, well-behaved children, and we're happy to have them. So,
Well, that's interesting though, because if they weren't delightful and well behaved and they were costing us more, then that would be a real issue to that policy.
well, no, because the board has the right to not grant the request.
So have we approved each of these 4 requests for these teachers in the past?
Yeah.
And how much do we charge? What is
$2,000 per student
a year?
a year. So $8,000 right now. This year, in the past, it was 2 children. This is the first year that we did 2 children. And that money comes in and is passed right to the town. So it, you know, offsets the budget a little bit. And again, there's no downside, there's no cost.
Well, there've got to be some costs. I mean,
Like what?
additional books for 4 more kids and additional meals for 4. I mean, there are additional costs. You can't say there are no additional costs.
Well,
There are
they
per student
pay
costs.
for their lunch, you know,
Mhm.
we don't pay for student lunches.
You know, if you have to get a subscription for, 56 as opposed to 52, there have got to be additional costs. You can't make a blanket statement, there are no additional costs. I mean,
There's a subscription, there's a bundle.
They're
So
bundled
rare
and
that
it's,
there's like 50 different.
Right, so- and the children are starting from grade level, so would be a rare thing that we had to buy another book, because they usually come in like packets of 25, 50, 75, whatever, at a grade level or wherever. So, if you're interested in that, if the board is interested, we can look to see in terms of numbers, if in fact we're paying anything else, but you know, it's usually a school license. Many of our texts are online texts.
Other things that I think would be good to remember are the things that we discussed when we talked about this policy at the beginning, which were how to keep and retain quality teachers, how to bolster our numbers. At that time, we were also talking about offering tuition widely for reduced costs to lots of different places. So when we talked about this before and whether or not it would be a value added for the school, we thought in weighing it that it only showed on the positive side.
I think there's a perception here though, whether it's accurate or not, that it costs $39,000 per student to educate the kids. Maybe that's the number thrown around.
And it's just a very inflated.
Well,
inaccurate
you know,
number.
I could take this number, our bottom line budget number divided by 56, and that would be a valid number as well.
No, but
I mean, there are many ways to work them. So I'm saying,
Yeah.
there's the perception that it costs $39,000 to educate our own students, and someone else is getting their student educated for cheap.
Well,
So that
and
is something that we need to keep in mind, and I think that's the genesis for this sort of emails. And
I think that is a perception. I think it's an incorrect one, because let's say we have someone move tomorrow. Do we then it costs 46,000? Or let's say we have someone move in, then it costs 20,000. You know, those numbers, in the same way that, you know, cost per road in Norfolk doesn't make sense, cost per student doesn't make sense that way. It's not immediate, the exchange that way. You know, it's the value of having the students in the classroom at this point for our school. We are bare bones of what it can cost to run the school. So we will only be bringing down our cost per pupil if we bring more pupils.
Children aren't like, I don't know, nails or bolts or screws. They're not uniform, the same. So the actual cost to educate child A and the actual cost to educate child B are going to differ depending on the level of service and the level.
well, that's what I'm saying, that we're very fortunate that these 4 may not be requiring additional service.
But if they did, parents would pay, we would not pay. That's part of the agreement that, so for instance,
And
we
these are
have,
important details to make known, because there is a percentage, but it's based on false information.
Yeah.
Or incomplete information. There's we're not increasing the cost to educate our student body by 4 times $39,000 by inviting these students into the building.
And there's a formula and it's not divide the bottom line of the budget by the number of students. Kathy, do you?
You take out transportation, you take out special ed,
Yeah,
and there is a formula that.
No, I'm sure whatever number.
and then, there's
But again,
money
by
from.
adding those 4 students to our student body, we're not increasing the cost to the town by whatever that number is. And if we have.
No, I
a family
understand that, I
move
understand
in,
that.
you know. we
But I
have
also,
to-
I find it hard that there's absolutely zero cost to having an additional student. There are to be some costs.
Truly, Walter, I don't know what they would
Okay.
be. And we will look at that, but
I mean, at the most basic level, it's postage for sending letters home to 4 different parents. There's a cost right there. So just to say they're done.
well, we don't mail them home because their parents aren't here, so they backpack them. I mean, we could really
Yeah, I,
scrutinize this, but like this, we have this one special ed student that's costing us $214,000. Another student could really cost nothing. And when you look at the cost of the building, if you took all the kids out, just the building operation costs, I mean, when you look at the pie, the majority of our cost is teacher benefits and salaries, huge lion's share. The other is special ed. These students, if it was special ed, their parents would pay, it wouldn't cost us anything. And the only way that the salary benefits piece would be a factor is if we had to hire another teacher because they put the number over. So when you look at what is actually paying for students, the, supplies, instructional supplies, it's a very teeny tiny thing. So it's nowhere near, right.
there's your pie chart right here.
And so whether you've got 50 kids or 150 kids, the difference in cost would be teachers and benefits. Nothing else would really, so there's a point at which this is what it's gonna cost to have a school. And the number of kids can fluctuate incredibly. And then again, so the number at a particular level required another teacher that you're paying a salary and benefits for. It's not going to really impact what it costs the town to educate a kid. So you're right, the perception is there, but again, it's not, it's a faulty perception.
And I think, plays into a bigger point, and Mr. Lasari's point, actually, that we actually have 52 kids here in town. So is that a bigger argument for consolidation? In fact, I would like to see us add consolidation next month to our agendas for discussion.
I know, you're new to the board, but I'm gonna tell you that the conversation is not new. And if our attorney was sitting at the table, he would say, it's not the board prerogative. We have no authority to initiate consolidation. That's not the board's job. That's really falls on the town to initiate that. And as you know, I think the board has had multiple conversations and meetings with Colebrook. We have extended that invitation. They don't want to talk about, they don't want to use the word.
And to put it on the agenda for next month will give us a chance to recap some of the discussions we've already had as a board this year about consolidation. I mean, and that would be
Yeah.
good.
And since I've been here, the town has pushed consolidation onto us, but we don't have that
We
authority.
don't have, no,
They have literally said we're responsible for initiating that conversation, but we don't have that authority.
you don't.
And we can initiate conversations
And we
have
have.
initiated conversations and we have new ideas for how to initiate conversations again. It's
Well,
good.
I know for a fact Matt Risk is initiating conversations with selectmen.
Yeah.
So I
Which
think
has been
it's,
happening for decades, so.
well, he took me aside last week to talk about it. So I would like, I agree with you. and I would like to see this.
I'm gonna have some information next month. I'm gonna call.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yeah, call Colebrook. Thank you, guys. Have a
thanks,
good night.
Tom.
What's your name again?
Walter
Walter.
Godlewski.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Michael. Mr. Lazari.
We would love to have that happen. This book would love to have more. It's something that we would have continued to advocate for. I have been told by the superintendents, we have been told that there's absolutely no will and, no one even wants to talk about it. Now, recently they've had change of their board and they have a new selectman. So, Matt had told me that the selectman was very receptive to that. I don't know where that is, where that has gone, but we've not had any information from the first selectman or any invitation from Colebrook's town to come to the table. We can meet with the board and we have done, and we can talk about this next month too, but it really is not in the purview of the Board of Ed to facilitate that meeting.
Why don't we'll put it on the board, we'll put it on the agenda for next month, we'll talk about it again, talk about what can be done by the board, because there are steps that can be taken by the board. We've gone over these things a few times, it is always worth going over them again and making new overtures. One thing that is so true about schools is every year there's a whole new set of players, so there, can very often the conversation can change quickly, or, can change format, so let's put that on the agenda for next month and we'll talk.
Any other questions about the budget, the bill, anything from me?
Any other questions? Okay, all right, let's move on to the principal's report.
Okay, so, last month I kind of gave you the breakdown about where our fall and winter testing was, and just as an overview, 3 times a year, we do universal screening of our students and give them various standardized measures to look at their growth and performance. And this time of the year is also when we are giving the Smarter Balanced Assessment, which is the assessment that the federal government requires that all students in grades 3 through 8 take. So we are in the process of doing that right now. Students have completed the English language arts version of the assessment, and this week are working on the math. In 2 weeks, 5th grade will work on the science assessment. And we shared with Amy today that students are working very hard and are displaying a really positive attitude. They are, I think they're feeling very prepared, and they're taking the assessment quite seriously. We can see how long each student takes on each of the assessments, and the majority of them are taking over an hour, some close to an hour and 45 minutes on the different assessments. The assessment changes according to how the student responds. So the more correct answers a student gets, the more rigorous the test becomes. So it adapts to their capabilities. And likewise, if they give an incorrect answer, then, the next series of questions might be at a slightly lower level, but all within the grade level span. So we're looking forward to see how they do on that, and hope to get results in June. In the, vein of the community connections, we have 2 things to report. One, on Earth Day, we invited a variety of community members to come run a variety of learning centers for our students. We had the Northwestern agriculture teacher and students come and help the students plant for a salsa garden in the community garden. We had Great Mountain Forest come and take the students on a guided hike. We had Miss Eileen and Bina from the Norfolk Library come and read a variety of Earth Day texts. They donated those texts, and then they made seed balls out of, paper and seeds, and, formed them all together. So the kids had a wonderful time. Our staff facilitated like a choice time on the playground. It went really, really well. And then our PTO president, Chelsea Bottom, she works for a local landscaping company, and they donated a tree, the Unity tree that the student council requested when we celebrated Unity Day in the fall. So at the very end, everybody dug a little dirt, planted the tree, and it's lovely. So we're looking forward to that blooming, and then in the fall turning orange to represent inclusive practices. So that was a big, big success. we're currently planning with the PTO's assistance, an opportunity for our students to march in the Memorial Day Parade. So we're going to invite any students who are able to and who are not already marching with another organization to join their school and staff who can make it to participate in that. So we're looking forward to that. We also recently had the Yale musicians join us for a concert. On Friday, we had a brass quintet. For those of you who have access to Class Dojo, I don't know if you were able to hear some of those songs, but lots of fan favorites, from the theme song to SpongeBob SquarePants all the way to Toy Story, and concluding with Putting on the Ritz. So lots of foot tapping and chair dancing and, enthusiastic applause. So the kids really enjoyed that, and the staff did too. I also have to give a shout out to Miss Holly, who prepared a nice thank you note. And so as the musicians were walking up, the little early primary kids come marching out with their little, chart paper Post-it note, and they all read it in the hall. And they said, "We've been to 3 different schools today, and we haven't had any thank yous like this." So I got a great picture of the kids with the musicians, and that was lovely. We are all prepared for our upper intermediate class trip to Nature's Classroom. And we are going to Charlton, Mass, the last week in May. The upper intermediate parents and the PTO did a great job fundraising, and the cost to students is $50. The entire trip, not including transportation, would cost upwards of $415 per student. So that was an excellent job. Well done. And that's what I have for you. Any questions?
For the Memorial Day Parade, there used to be a hotel banner. Do you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
have that?
We are in the works on a banner.
Well, there's one somewhere around.
Yeah.
I know it exists.
Yes, well,
haven't
I
seen
think
it
it's on the
this one.
wall in the gym. But we are gonna make a personalized banner, and Amy and I were just talking about that, actually. We're gonna try to get all the kids' handprints on the banner and, yeah, so. But that doesn't work out, we will use that other banner.
Just wanted to let you know, just
Thank
remind
you.
somebody that.
No, I appreciate that. Yep, thank you.
Any questions for the principal? All right, let's move on to our standing committee reports. Curriculum and technology, Amy, would you like to report on that?
Yeah, we met today. We've talked a lot about the smarter balance assessment window and the steps that the school has taken to prepare students for that assessment. And messaging around the assessment, the messaging being check in with yourself, see how you're feeling today, see how ready you are. Take a break if you need a break, get back to it if you can. And the overall feel of the testing this year, with anecdotal evidence, is that students are less stressed, ready to acknowledge when they need a break, take a quick break and get back to work, or say, "I'm not feeling good today. I'm only going to do a couple questions today, and I'm going to do my testing tomorrow." So that's been a nice, that's not a typical feel for tests when we're talking to students. So it doesn't feel like a test as much as it does an opportunity to show what they know. The math and literacy specialists have been planning, thoughtfully planning their time with the gen ed teachers, the classroom teachers, pushing in to co-teach some lessons, pushing into the win time. That's what I need.
Mhm.
So personalized learning time for students, especially in the 5th, 6th grade. They've targeted some lessons to push into there. We're on the final unit of the new curriculum. So the state and past legislation saying we need to adopt, all schools in the state need to adopt a specific early, 1 of 5 specified early literacy curriculum. So we've done that as a board. It's the first year that we're implementing some PD days too. And what they're finding is that by fourth and final unit of this year, students are recognizing skills and strategies that are transferable between different types of units. So in a research unit, here are skills and strategies I can use, tools like graphic organizers to help me organize my thinking. That in genre or narrative units, there are different tools and strategies you can use while you're reading or while you're writing in that genre. And so the overall effect is that students are challenged but feel ready to accept that challenge because there's a level of familiarity with the tools that they're using to tackle these reading and writing skills.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. That was really an excellent.
Really good.
Very impressed.
And then there's been some really great opportunities for collaboration, and those opportunities have been seized by our librarian.
Yep.
Erin Dubecki, who's looking at the data in the library in terms of the circulation, which books are being checked out, which types of books are being checked out. She reported last meeting that she looked at the circulation data last year and reorganized the entire library into genre-specific sections, and now students can identify, I love books in this section because it's science fiction, or I love books in this section because it's nonfiction. And that's the effect of that, reorganizing the library, increased circulation. So she dove into those numbers again and realized that a lot of the circulation is graphic novels, and so she's organized a chapter book challenge. And she's pushing into the last literacy unit in terms of their research to find different resources. If we don't have them in our building, tapping into the interlibrary loan system to get resources for students so that they have what they need for their literacy unit. I think that was it.
Great, thank you very much. I'm gonna move down to the communications committee and use that to talk again about this survey ad. First of all, I apologize that I didn't get it done for the May issue of Norfolk Now, but I think June might be a better time for it to be. After our last, I was gonna hand this to you guys and pass it around. On our last meeting, we talked about adjusting it to have a picture of children rather than the building. So that is in place on this piece now. I also looked up the costs for the insert. Alter was thinking that the insert was worth it. I wrote the cost in the back, now I've already forgotten. So something
Full
like,
page 170, insert 215 or 465 color.
yeah, thank you. So a full page would be, integrated into the magazine, it would be like one of the pages in the thing, and insert is like a freestanding.
I have an example of that, and I neglected to share this. If you haven't seen it,
Oh,
it's
that's great.
beautiful, and 4 of the 5 students featured are Norfolk students.
Or hotel students.
Botel students, so, yeah, Ben Crone and Ginny DeCerbo and Samantha Barbagallo and Alex Steele, all former
Hotel graduates.
Hotel graduates, which if you haven't seen it, it's.
Yeah, the where I'm from was great.
So so if we are good with this, I now think that I have all the pieces together. We just need to decide if we want to, if we're comfortable with the full page cost. The partial page cost is is like $40. So this is a significant jump, but I do think it'll have a bigger impact. And if we want it to be in the book, 170, or as an insert, 215. I don't know that color is worth it. That's a jump to 465, but wanted to see what y'all think.
Personally, I like it. I don't know it has to be its own insert. I think it could be a full page.
Yeah,
Inserts fall out.
Totally. I absolutely agree. And I saw the only reason to, and I think it's nice and early now, so I will let Norfolk Now know or now so that they will plan for it, and then it won't be an issue. Okay, great. Well, so if anybody has any, I will also send this by email so you can look at it more closely, but if anybody has any other changes or adjustments or corrections. Okay.
That's the bummer. So that insert, Evie was published in the Mad River Anthology for the college. A piece of her artwork, and it was from a grant from the Patel Art Foundation that sponsored the mentor program that she did. So I wish I would have known about that. 'Cause we probably just missed getting her in that as well.
That would have been awesome.
I think they're gonna make it, I think they're gonna try to make that, an annual thing, right, for the, that journal, the Patel Arts folks are trying to.
The student boys and the youth
Oh,
boys.
yeah, so, I think it's, Kim Crone, Hillary Van Wright, both of them work on that, so.
Oh,
so
great.
keep it in mind.
Perfect.
Well, and, you know, additional bragging about our kids, if you didn't get to see Mary Poppins, it was just spectacular. And just about every lead part was played by a Botel student. And I think their years of being exposed to theater, participating in our annual drama play productions, has given them that experience in auditioning and that stage presence and that experience of performing. And they knocked in the auditions, knocked them out of the park, and they were unbelievable. And to sit there and watch these kids who we knew as little kids up on the stage, poised, and just the performance was absolutely amazing.
And ad-libbing as the characters during breakfast,
Oh,
which is quite a
yeah,
skill.
I missed the breakfast, but I didn't, how did you went to the church?
I didn't, I heard it was well attended. I met with some people that was a touch a truck event just
Okay.
after that, but I saw a lot of people at the breakfast.
Okay, excellent. So, down to, let's see, next thing. PTO. Amy, are very hardworking.
Our last meeting, the PTO has sponsored a teacher and staff appreciation luncheon this week. And bus driver appreciation week, which I forget which week. So, and hosted movie nights here. The next event planned is the 5th and 6th grade dance on May 17th. And that has been a fundraising source for the nature's classroom trip for the 5th and 6th grade students. So that will, the money raised now, I don't know if it will go to this year's 5th and 6th
Next
grade.
year.
It would be next year's.
And or graduation, to offset any graduation.
And then after that, we're looking at June 7th, which would be the first Friday night on the Green, co-hosting the Botel PTO and the Hub co-hosting a family fun night. We're looking to get a DJ / karaoke machine, and inviting our families to come up and show off their talent with pizza and vegetables.
What day is that? I gotta think
And I think Anne just volunteered to DJ. Fantastic.
June 7, what time?
7.
Volunteer
I
miles.
don't remember.
I would say 6 to 8.
Thank you.
Right.
Appreciate that. But we're kind of wrapping up for this year.
Great, that's fantastic. John's not here, but I believe the School Safety and Security Committee would have met since our last meeting. Do you want to, is there anything to report there, Marilyn? You're on.
They met in April, and I think, John, didn't he?
Wasn't that the second? Oh, maybe it was late enough because we delayed our meeting, so maybe
Yeah.
we did talk.
Pretty sure. But the
The Board of Finance, we went to the Board of Finance meeting last month. Amy, would you like to talk about that one? Very simple.
Oh, yes, I can think back to that part. We had just received revised numbers as the Board of Ed that day and adopted a revised budget, which was then presented to the Board of Finance. They delayed their vote until fall. But the Board of Finance, what's the right word? They didn't adopt our budget. They approved our budget and brought it forward to the budget hearing, which was last week. There were a couple questions about the Botel budget from members of the public. Mary Beth and I stayed back to address members of the public and reach out and help provide some more information and but
Amy
next
said,
it goes.
I am going to be here until the last person leaves. Nobody's gonna say that they.
It's it's not our meeting, but there are questions for the Board of Ed that are being answered not by the Board of Ed. And so I just, after the meeting, ended, stood up and said, I'm a Board of Ed member and I'm standing right here. If anybody wants to come talk to me. And then I hunted them down.
Great job. Good for you.
Anyway.
Excellent. Well done. Great. Thank you very much. EDC?
Yeah, the EDC is really working on the Norfolk Looking Forward project. The last meeting was focused on affordable housing. What does affordable housing mean? You know, the idea that the town has to come up with a working definition of what it means for Norfolk, because one of the subgroups from that Looking Forward project was affordable housing. The other, just in case you don't recall, and hopefully I will remember what they are. It's, you know, like restaurants, things in the center of town, Infinity Hall, affordable housing and children's programming were the big topics that came from that work. So again, last month was all on affordable housing. There was a representative from Kent, I believe. They had done some work with their employers who, you know, reached out to the employees and just inquired, do you live in town? You know, if not, why not? You know, just kind of getting some information so they could determine if there was anything that they could do at the town level to, you know, again, recruit people to live in town, work in town and whatnot. So that was very informative, and there's another Looking Forward meeting coming up. The different groups meet and then report back. I wasn't able to go on the 24th. That's when all the groups got together. So the meeting is Thursday. I'm sure I'll be brought up to speed on what happened there.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's move on our agenda to unfinished business. The community outreach coordinator. Do you want to talk to us a bit about that? Barbara?
Well, I know you gave the job description to the board to read. There hasn't been follow-up discussion in terms of like the next steps and like, if it's, I can reach out, you know, if it's something that's a board agrees, but I can reach out to Libby and begin to look at her sources for, funding that position.
We've already had a pretty long meeting. Why don't we put this on our agenda again for next time? And I'll ask everyone to take a look at that again. Maybe I'll resend it out because I know it's not on the top of my mind.
If we're going to be talking about consolidation, that won't must be able to be usually.
Yes.
Well, we don't have.
So
Not
the
as
outreach,
of right
the,
now.
the coordinator, the outreach coordinator, the idea is simply to try to get someone to work with the school and the community, to be that person in between. So we had put together that little job description and wanted to kind of send it up to the EDC and see if how they felt about it, whether or not they would be interested in funding it or the funding portion of their sharing, or see where that goes. I mean, if you all feel like you want to talk about it now or give your thoughts on it now, right?
No, I'd like to play wet blanket again today. You know, it seems to me that it's based on the premise of curating an extended day program. And I don't know if the board prior to me joining it has discussed whether or not that is something that is a goal. But I haven't had discussions about an extended day program, and I think that's
Well, I don't think it's only about an extended day program, although I do think that is an important piece. That extended day program has come up quite a bit for the community, with community interest.
That's a
Asking-
by Libby.
Asking for it to happen here.
well, but we're talking about our team. I'm assuming that's a TEL team. So that means that we need to be able to adopt these. You know, I don't care if Libby's pushing it or who's pushing it. I think we need to have a discussion as to whether or not an extended day program is something that we're looking at now.
Yeah.
There's talk about a competitive salary, health insurance, retirement savings, opportunities for development and advancement. With advance to what? You know, I look at this chart and say, who's going to pay for the salary?
And then if we have benefits, those are an extra 25% of the salary. Where's this money coming from? Unless it's fully funded.
And that.
Unless it is fully funded. I don't want to see one
Right.
penny of
And-
Norfolk taxpayer money going into a marketing
And
position.
this is Libby, and she has been looking for sources. This, and I made that clear, that the school, not only financially, but in terms of facilitating and managing, that's beyond our scope. And Libby is looking to find funding to have it be a community employee. It would not be a hotel employee. We would not be in charge of this. It would not be if we would provide facility, we would collaborate with this position. But I've made it clear, it's not in our budget. We don't intend to put it in our budget. And it's something that we have put in place in the past, not successfully, in spite of attempts to reach out to parents. What would you like? We did do the survey, Amy. I didn't bring that result with me, but we did ask kids. But we've asked kids, what would you like to do? We've had volunteers, PTO has done extended programs. We've offered, transportation, and parents are just, no, we don't, it hasn't worked. So when I said to Libby, before you move forward on finding funding for a position like this, let us put out a little something to parents. We put out this flyer that said, we are looking to see in having, programs in the community, extended day or otherwise, would you be at all interested in, having your child participate in any number of these kinds of things? We had 2 responses. I think so. 7, okay, and I had actually 2. So I said to Libby, before you go down this road and invest time and money, if there's not an interest in a demand, it's really spending a lot of time. But so she put the brakes on that, but one was interested in, coming up and we had talked about this.
And I don't think it's just about an extended day program. So the idea being that if we're going to have a school that attracts people to move to town for our school, what could we do to make it more appealing? How can it be more enmeshed in the community? How can we use the wonderful resources that our community has and offers? How can we use them effectively? And it can be hard to figure out how best to find those resources, organize those resources, implement their programming. So I think having someone dedicated to that piece could be really valuable. And so to me, marketing the school makes sense for the town. If we're thinking of it as a way to change the demographic of our town, then we need to invest in it.
So I just go back to perception. I think there's a large segment of Norfolk society that does not view this school favorably. And I think that if, particularly with this latest budget round where we had last minute increases, and every article you read about, we're the top. We're the first thing they say, everyone else tightened their belts except the school went up. So, I think if there's a person brought in to do marketing, we would have to make it so clear that there is not a cent, not one. I mean, even the programming, if it means we're gonna have to run buses that are coming out of school budget, that can't happen. Because I think we will have townsfolk with torches ready to burn the school down if they find out we're using money for marketing purposes.
Even more.
I think we have to be so careful here.
So a couple, I think unfortunately, I think the crux of marketing this school to town, to people who live in the town, all has to be affordable. I mean, it's a way simpler answer than it should be. Unfortunately, no young families can live in this town unless they're extreme. But the other part of that, or my other suggestion, could this be an internship? I think there are plenty of institutions of higher education that would look at this as an excellent opportunity for an internship that we could do for free.
That's a fantastic idea about the community college would be a great place to.
The community college might be, or I don't know if there's folks that are advanced enough into that role that we may need to call in Western or Central, but I mean, I think we can start with the community college for sure.
I think there is a lot of ill will toward the school. I mean, that is much easier to talk about. I think that's much more fun to talk about. And I think that there's very little interest in finding out more about the school. As evidenced by the fact that there are very few members of the public who come to these meetings. Thank you for coming to the meeting to find out
Maybe
more
people
about the
literally
school.
listen.
Of course, thank you for being here. As evidenced by the fact that notes are delivered to people to invite them to events and those people don't show up, that things are advertised to show off the amazing progress our students are making. You don't see community members come to curriculum night, come to the spring concert, come to the school play, come to see events that are happening here. So if you don't see it firsthand, you don't have information to combat the, well, we could just write a check for $25,000 to every kid and then send them off to Indian Mountain. That's incomplete and inaccurate information. But that's the soundbite that gets passed around the town. And we don't have an effective tool to stop that soundbite, correct the misinformation or the incomplete information. And if there were an internship, because I agree, I don't want to add to that pie. I don't want to add to that pie. I'm a taxpayer here too. But if there were another tool in our belt to help at least feed more information about the school and what we do and what makes it a great place to send your kid, then we would have a better chance to stop the rumor mill that just repeats the negative, doesn't come to the school, doesn't have anything new to say except I heard something more about money. So I would love to help support a position without having to buy.
No, I can start the process of looking at the feasibility of an internship. I will recommend it, because like I said, we can do it for free, and I think that we might have someone really energized, and not only that, we won't have like someone starting off that can do like a part-time job as well.
Yeah, I think baby steps are maybe the way to go.
Well, they'll have the advisory expert in this kind of stuff. So I have someone with energy, and then someone overseeing it that's kind of senior, which might be better than us getting an entry-level person or a person who's in a retirement, because this is not an attractive job, because it's not enough hours, it's not enough pay or whatever. I would think, I mean, it's kind of attractive for a part-time job, but not a lot of people looking for part-time jobs right now.
And I think that's really generous of you to offer. I would suggest that you contact Libby, because this has been initiated by EDC. This is not something that was initiated by the board. And, the EDC over the last few years has switched the tune from, if Botel was this great school, people would want to move here so their kids could go here. Botel is a great school. People can't afford to live here. And now finally, economic development is talking and focuses on affordable housing. Because if families can't afford to buy a home, if they don't have the infrastructure for people to work remotely, you're not going to have young families move here. This is a lifestyle choice, and you don't have IKEA and Stop and Shop and all the things that a lot of families want, and the housing is not affordable. So, it's a big thing, but I think you're right. It's low hanging fruit. Oh, it's the school costing all this money and the school's not good. I don't know where that comes from, because I've been in this business over 45 years. This is a phenomenal school. This school offers more to kids and does more for kids than it's like private school. You look at the class size, sure, we want more kids, but you talk to any teacher, like class size of 13, 14, oh my gosh, the opportunities for our kids here are amazing. I don't think that, that is gonna, whatever you do to the Botel isn't gonna make people move here. They need to be able to afford it.
I think that the other piece of this is that we are trying as a town to recruit some young families. I mean, you look at the volunteer ambulance and the volunteer fire department, they're desperate for younger members. It is a town issue, not just a Botel issue, that we have so few young families, and that imbalance of the town has an effect on more aspects than just the school, but it does affect the school. The school is an integral piece of the town to demographics of the town, and the ability to attract young families is an integral piece of the school. So having somebody with deep in both of those worlds and being able to help both sides of that coin move forward and market Norfolk, market hotel. I think I would be willing to support that.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing from our board is that, we would be open to the idea of the EDC pursuing a position like this, provided that it does not add to the hotel budget. We could give suggestions for internships within oversight by a supervisor. But that, the concept of having a person who would be able to, kind of coordinate between town efforts and hotel programming, we would be open to that if it could come together.
I think we'd be open to it, but the real messaging here is going to be with respect to, you know, our team, our cause, our mission, which is what I see all over this description. Then we almost need to have last say over whatever that message is. We need to control this position without paying for it. I mean,
I would agree with that.
we cannot
Because if
let the
you,
EDC run wild and start messaging about something that we don't.
well, I mean.
So it's a tightrope. It's a fine line. We don't want to have to pay for anything, but we need to have final control, final word on everything.
Well, because what happens at school, there, you know, it isn't a private school, it's a public school. We have state standards
That's
that we
right.
have to follow, we have testing we have to deliver, sorry.
And we have to be careful about the
Like
messaging we
this is-
put out.
Well, I mean, we can't just all of a sudden, you know, say, oh, you know, hey, we're gonna market ourselves as a outdoor school. Like, no, that, you know, so it
Right.
needs to be thought, and not that it wouldn't be thoughtful, but I do feel strongly that, you know, there are teachers and students involved in this, and teachers, you know, they have an important job
That's
to
right.
do and curriculum to deliver and students to raise and
There are a lot of
grow
players and
and teach.
voices here.
Pardon?
There are a lot of players who should have
There
voices
are.
in this. I agree.
There are,
There's
so,
a lot already going on in the
Stakeholders.
school that should be advertised, that is work people know about, without changing the school.
Right.
I'm not saying, you know, let's be static and not do anything, but I think we have a lot that should be trumpeted, that should be out there, that needs help getting out there.
So, and in terms of this description, when Ann asked me to put something together, I prefaced it by saying, this is something, everything is in there but the kitchen sink.
That's right.
For the board to look at and say, what would we want this to be pared down to share with EDC? And again, in my conversations with Libby, it's like, we have to have a loud voice, limited responsibility for
That's exactly right.
finances or the work involved. So she knows that that's, you know, the position that the superintendent, I believe representing the board is, but this was like first step
Sure.
and
So I guess I would like to go back to my original thought of putting this on our agenda with consolidation to talk about, to ask everyone to look closely at that job description and, you know, get the red pen out, you know, and make suggestions. And then, you know, maybe we could have more of a workshop idea, because it sounds like we're not maybe quite ready to go back to Libby with a cohesive board response.
So should I not reach out to her before we do some of that, or should I have like maybe an informal conversation?
I feel comfortable with you having an informal conversation.
Okay.
I feel like that. 'Cause
I just
think
don't
you
want
would-
this to become a board project, so if we start
That's
going off
right.
on our own, so I think just talking to her, I don't know, we're having this conversation and here are some ideas, but
Right, and then I'm happy
Let
to
her
facilitate
keep
the
them
internship process.
ownership of it.
Okay.
Great. Thank you guys very much.
Okay, thank you.
Process.
Were you on vacation
We're
or
at
just
the
outside? You got
end of our-
Working in the yard all day.
We're at the end of our agenda, so I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made. Right, seconded. All those in favor?
Nanny.
Economic Development Committee.
Thank you, guys.
You'll probably get a hold of you, just give an address on the town website.
I'll send you.
Email would be best.
Content.